Hello, everyone. So we're just running a few minutes late, but I think we can start our session, 2F, How Smartphones Can Enhance the Quality of Life for the Deafblind. My name is Josie Quinn, and I'll be the moderator of our session today. Today we have three speakers. So Sunil Abbas is the General Secretary for the Society of Empowerment of the Deafblind, or SEDB, in India, and his extensive experience as a hardware professional and service engineering. Sunil uses his knowledge to advocate for the rights of persons with deafblindness, ensuring that they have equal access and training to all facilities and assistive devices. Sunil collaborates with organizations and companies developing assistive technology, providing feedback, and ensuring the requirements of persons who are deafblind, deaf, and low vision users are met. Sunil leads and assists employment training workshops and provides direct counseling and supports to adults who are deafblind. Fun-loving, hardworking, and generous, Sunil conducts popular awareness drives. He is presented at conferences to raise awareness and advocate for the rights of persons with deafblindness, both at national and international levels. Teresa Anthony is the lead for inclusive design of Chetana Trust, and her work ranges from developing and organizing awareness workshops for adults and children, training programs for professionals, accessible play, and reading events and activities for children, and managing the complex elements of running accessible library services for children in Chetana. Her great passion is creating accessible children's storybooks. Her background in visual arts and design, combined with her training on designing access solutions using a range of technology and learning scripts, such as Braille, pushed her to innovate and create international awarded inclusive storybooks. For the past 5 years, Teresa has worked alongside children and adults with and without disabilities to spread awareness of the importance of accessibility imagery that children's stories should hold. She mentors individuals wanting to explore, create, and use accessible storybooks. And also is Dr. Namita Jacob, who works around the world as an advisor with several international and national organizations and universities in the areas of sensory impairment, multiple disabilities, early childhood development. She is a program director of Chetana Trust, which pioneers unique evidence-based solutions to issues in access to learning among people with disabilities in India. She has authored several books and book chapters used by universities and professionals around the world. Dr. Jacob designs and develops services at the community levels within hospitals, schools, and orphanages across the world, and has helped establish some of the earliest comprehensive services for children with complex sensory impairment in India. She's a senior education specialist for Perkins. She supports the development of services for children and infants who are deafblind and have vision impairment with additional disabilities in Asia and the Pacific region. So please welcome.
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, hello. As you all heard, I am Teresa Anthony, and today our presentation is on smartphones and how they enhance the quality of life for the deafblind. With me, I have my co-presenters, Namita Jacob, who you've heard is part of Chetana Trust, and Sunil Abbas, who is part of SEDB. He is the General Secretary. So Namita Jacob is today wearing a traditional Indian dress, and she has short black hair. Sunil Abbas is deafblind. He is clothed in a very colorful floral shirt and is always seen with a wide smile. Also here to help us today is Joshua, an interpreter, and he's going to be supporting us with interpreting for Sunil. So, I have to. Right. So this presentation was made with many people collaborating and helping us through it. It focuses on a study that was part of a large project, and it wouldn't be possible without the contributions of Zamir Dale, who is the founder of SEDB, Pradeep Sinha, a member of SEDB, and Rajesh Manoharan, who is a tactile interpreter, all of whom have contributed heavily to this presentation, and we're very sad that they can't be here today. So I'd like to begin with a quote from Zamir. And he says, "In other countries, I have seen so many deafblind people being successful, independent, and traveling all around the world. But here, we cannot progress because many barriers exist, like inaccessibility of the environment and lack of services." This is a statement that many of our deafblind colleagues resonate with, and we came across this report, and it's called the Global System for Mobile Communications Association report. It's a report that came out about in 2020, and it's about the mobile disability gap that exists in the world. And in India, you can see that there's a big disability gap, and a gap of 55%. But some of the key findings is what we wanted to talk about. The barriers to ownership of smartphones that were seen around the world was in literacy and digital skills. And another big barrier was in affordability. But something that got us very curious was this key finding, which is fewer people or fewer persons with disabilities perceive mobile as beneficial. We've worked extensively with our deafblind community in India, and we got so curious because we weren't sure if this was truly the case for them. So we dove deeper in study to find this out. So at this point, I'd like to call on Namita, who is going to take us through some of the work done by SEDB.
So for us, this was something really surprising. Especially during the pandemic, the deafblind community in India survived because they connected on a WhatsApp group. To give you some context, in our country, every state has a different language. Most of the deafblind individuals would have started school and never completed it. Many of them have very low literacy. Many of them have lost vision or hearing later in life and may have zero connection to additional services. And yet, all of them were surviving because of this connect on this giant WhatsApp group. And they supported each other. It was an amazing, amazing thing for us to see how they managed each other's access needs. In 2020, just before COVID, in January, was the first gathering organized by this organization, SEDB. They brought together deafblind colleagues in the first national conference. We held this conference in an institute for the deaf because it gave us free access to interpreters. We went in early and we worked and trained with the interpreters. One of my colleagues and I, he's not here today, Pradeep. And we decided to use this as an opportunity to really ask the question, what is the actual experience of people who are deafblind? How restricted are they? I want to talk a little bit about the how of doing this. We had only about 20 participants at that time, but each of them, like I said, had different sign language capacity, different language levels, different vision capacity. We had an interpreter sitting at every table with every participant, along with the person they had come with. We also had one trained interpreter sitting at every table to keep an eye on the level of participation, comprehension, and any issues. And in this way, we worked through a participation in life survey, followed by a technology survey. It took us 3 days, and we did it in little buckets of time. In itself, this process of informed consent, making sure they understand, getting their full participation, making sure they understood why we were doing what we were doing, itself was a huge learning for us. At the end of this, we learned 3 things. 1, how important technology was to this community in order that they may access almost every area of life. And 2, they did not have that access. Many of them had outdated technology. Many of them had never learned to use it. They may have a device, but they don't know how to use it. And they may or may not have gone through training, most of them not. And the few that did felt that they had not really learned, that they had to rely on themselves. Another very big need that emerged from that was a lack of interpreters, that they did not have this, people who provided them with high-quality tactile interpretation. We met Bapin, who's here in this group, came for the conference and then came back to meet us in February and to confer with the leaders of SCDB to discuss these 2 questions. How can we move technology forward? And how do we want to think about developing tactile interpreters and what they decided to call access providers, which many people here would call SSP, support service workers. And then, of course, we hit the pandemic, and we could not move further. We couldn't take any of these questions or anything further. During the pandemic, we had this great opportunity to look at the question of how technology is being used and learned by people with disabilities across the country. This was a larger study that was conducted pan-India and pan-disability, with a focus specifically on subgroups, people who were deaf, people with visual impairment, I think learning disability, I don't know. There was one more group, and then they asked us if we would take the lead in the deafblind, which of course we happily did. The study, again, this time the methodology was extremely different. We had to rely on terrible access. Many of them didn't have great internet. Many of them had very basic phones. We swung through different ability to meet or interact with people. We had a few people we could interact with, but mostly the interviews were conducted online. What we asked each time was that the person who is deafblind has at least one family member or one person with them who would maybe know sign, maybe not. On our side, we had a team which was Teresa, a tactile interpreter, and me. And we would lead the questions. We recorded everything. We would ask the question. The interpreter would sign it. The sighted person would mirror the sign, and the deafblind person would get it. The deafblind participant would then repeat the question or start the answer, which gave us an understanding of whether he understood the question in the first place. So it was really complicated to do this, but we were very committed to get high quality, reliable information. And although the group was small, we felt that really comfortable with the quality of the interviews. There are many findings, and Teresa will talk you through them, but the main finding was that the most preferred technology was, no surprise, the smartphone. And the biggest need that they spoke about was, the most preferred technology was the smartphone, but we saw when we did these interviews that they in fact had very little understanding of what a smartphone could give you access to. And from our perspective, the biggest need was their access to good training. We had views of people holding a cell phone with a magnifier in front of it. We realized the use of light, with many of the features that they could, many of the access, the barriers that could have been solved, they had not actually done. So I'm going to invite, Teresa to talk a little bit more about the context of the study.
Yeah, so as Namita said, she spoke about the methodology, how we ran the interviews. We had 11 interviews, but we had to drop one because it wasn't of high quality. We had to settle, because it was during the pandemic, we had to settle for whoever was available to interpret the questions for the deafblind participant. So because the questions weren't being addressed as we wanted, we dropped one interview. We had 7 male participants, 3 female, and the participants ranged from ages of 18 to 43. We asked them to rate themselves on levels of technology use, and 60% of them said, that's the majority of them, said that they're at a basic level, whereas 20% of them said they're at a mid-level, and 20% of them said they're advanced. So with these interviews, like Namita said, they were conducted our primary goal was to get high-quality data, high-quality interviews. So we knew how the participants would respond, and so we chose different ways for the different participants. For some participants, we had in-depth interviews done online. We had 5 of them, I believe. Yeah, 5 online interviews. And for some participants, an online interview just wasn't enough for us to get the clarity we were looking for. So we followed it up with WhatsApp messages, and we did this with 2 participants. 2 participants, we had the privilege of doing it in person, which was wonderful. So in my many years of knowing Sunil, or maybe I'll shift the slide here. Okay, maybe I'll just talk about the key findings first. So what we came across was, of course, the most preferred device across all 80 devices for these participants was the smartphone. And what was shocking was that almost all of them purchased this by themselves, or it was gifted to them. They had no place to go to learn how to use the smartphone. And so we found that even though they have the phone, they don't totally know how to use all the features of the phone. And without someone who's an expert trainer, they use the phone as is. They used it without any magnification features or enabling any assistive features on their phone. We noticed that they use the smartphone most commonly for communication and also navigation and access to information. Most of their information came from WhatsApp groups that they are part of. SEDB has their own WhatsApp group, and Ish News, right? Ish News. So what I was trying to say before was that something that blew my mind 2 years ago was meeting Sunil. He's just watching the way he functions, it's so inspiring. Sunil is my teacher. He teaches me sign language. I'm still learning, and we have this little exchange program every Thursday where I teach him Braille and he teaches me sign. But watching Sunil every day was interesting because he used his phone so extensively, and rather than me talking about how Sunil uses his phone, I think it's a good thing to ask him. Sunil, I have a question. Why is it that you use your phone so much? Why is it your go-to device? And could you tell us a little more about how you use your phone in all areas of life?
Everyone, hello. My name is Sunil Abbas, and my sign name is this. What does that mean? When I was a little kid, I would hang on to people's hands, and I just wouldn't let go. And so that became my name. I was really strong. I would grip really hard. And so from when I was a child, that became my name. I love being deafblind. I live in Chennai. And I came here with Namita and Teresa. The three of us came here together to Canada. I work as the General Secretary of SEDB, the Society for the Empowerment of the Deafblind. And I go to Chetana Trust to learn from Teresa, to learn Braille. She's a great Braille teacher. Forever, it's been my aim, my love, technology, smartphones, oh, forever. In 1999, this thing, it started with the little button phone. I was so fascinated. I could see, oh wow, I could send a message and it would come back and I could see it, and oh, this was so exciting. As I grew up, my vision dropped. I had to keep increasing the size of my phone. And then I started researching to figure out how all these access features in a cell phone. A smartphone has many access features. One, you can increase the font. Two, you can magnify. Three, you can use the camera. Wow. And four, you can invert colors. And these four features, they worked brilliantly for me and gave me access and support all deafblind people who need this. Wait, tell him, wait. Yeah? Can you ask Sunil to talk a little bit about how he uses the cell phone, to do what? Why do I like the cell phone? Many people, in many ways, it helps me. Sorry, can you just say that again? Sorry, can you ask him to repeat?
Location.
Okay, I use it to book, to order food, to go to a bank. I send SMSs. I use social media. I use it to get information. I ask Google lots of questions. This is so fantastic. It's really satisfying to be able to do this. If I need any help, I can just find out. People who are deafblind, they are surprised at all these things that I'm able to do. And then they get curious and they want to learn. People who are normal may not really understand this, and they're not able to relate. But I'm deafblind, they're deafblind, and wow, they see me use these things, they want to learn. They come to me with questions, and I'm able to answer. So deafblind trainers are really the best. They see me use a cane, and they think, wow, I want to be able to do the same as you. Can you teach me? I show them the value, and then they're able to accept it. So this is really the best. I think people who are normal, they don't get it, but me, I get it. So having a deafblind trainer, I go with them, I'm able to show them, I'm able to understand what they worry about, and I'm able to provide that support. They feel shy, they feel afraid, my vision is changed, how am I going to manage? And I'm able to convince them because I did it. And I show them, they understand they can be as independent as I am. They can copy me. I show them how to use it for travel. I tell them, come on, you got to try. Come on, I'll come with you, I'll support you, I'll show you, I'll train you. And as they do this, they start to change the way they think about themselves. And they think of themselves as being more independent and capable. I show them how they can change and invert colors. They can learn. I convince them that they can learn Braille. Later, imagine if you go blind. So while you still have vision, learn a bit. Learn a bit, you can. It's simple. Yeah, so if you were low vision before, today you may become blind. It's hard for them to understand so many new, different technologies, but I can teach them how to use their cell phone, for example, in very different and curious ways. You can use your camera to find something that you've dropped. You don't need to ask people for help. Do it yourself. Here's how you can use your phone. Yeah? They get really excited then. Wow, I can do that. As they lose vision, a white paper becomes really difficult to look at. And I show them how they can take a picture, invert the color, and wow, now it's easy. No longer need to ask for help. They talk about how they now sit at home and stop traveling because they can't see and they don't know how to manage. I teach them how to use different apps. I'm able to demonstrate to them how, very effectively, how I will shift I talk to a lot of people who are deaf and low vision, and I help them understand that yes, even in the future as your vision drops, it doesn't really matter. You can continue. I'll show you how to use tactile sign. It's really important to learn sign language. If you learn sign language when you're younger, then learning tactile sign language is going to become much easier. It's easier for you to grasp it. Don't try and look. Don't try and use your vision. Trust your hands, right? So I show them how that these things are really possible. These things are easy if you practice. And in the future, if your vision gets worse, you'll have no problem. So this is the best. So this is easy for me to show, to support, because I've had this experience myself. So these things are important. Learn to travel independently. I came all the way alone with my colleague from SEDB. We travel alone. We traveled really far to different places. I think being deafblind is really the best. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. I am waiting for feedback and questions.
Okay, so you've heard from Sunil. You know how extensively he uses his phone. I also want to talk about a few members from SEDB. They use their phone for work. They have their own independent jobs. They knit and they sell things online. They use their phone extensively in the area of work. Where is, okay.
So as you heard from Sunil, being a deafblind trainer, using a person who is deafblind as a trainer has a very, very, very important impact. And this was something that we felt very strongly we needed to tap into. We realized that with a lot of people, they lost their vision much later in life. So they had passed out of the school system and were maybe in their 20s and early 30s. Many of them lost jobs. Many of them couldn't find jobs. Many of them couldn't progress in work because of their deteriorating vision. Partly, as you heard from Sunil, because it made them really nervous, afraid, and they sort of felt like their life was over. So one of the things that SEDB wanted to do is to offer this support, support in the area of building independence, across multiple areas of life, relevant to this being technology, smartphone technology. We ran this as an experiment. It was a 2-week training, again in partnership. There were 3 organizations, SEDB as the trainer, Chetana Trust providing support for the curriculum, and Enable India providing the location. We started the 2 weeks by assessing vision, then assessing a person's capacity to use their smartphone, setting individual goals, and dividing between two major trainers, Pradeep Sinha, who is deaf-blind, and he would support users who needed to learn Braille and using a phone to access literacy, and of course Sunil, who would support users with low vision. And as you heard from Sunil, the impact that they had was to overcome this giant barrier of a person's perception of their own capacity and the whole point of learning technology. Like, what do they want to access through learning technology. This is one of our participants who initially, was very sweet and very open, but really had no intention of using her learning because she was not ready really to look at her visual capacity and the issues that she was already facing and going to face in the future. After she went through 2 sessions with Sunil, I spoke with her, and this was what she said. Sunil understands how my eyes see the world. He asks questions about my difficulty in everyday life that no one has ever known to ask. He found solutions to problems that I didn't realize could ever be solved. And this perception, this ability to see through the eyes of somebody else is something so valuable. And as Sunil pointed out, he also held in himself this huge sign of hope. Look where I am. Look at the way I am able to live my life. Come on, you can do this too. And really passing on that encouragement and support has been a tremendous, tremendous impact. As an outcome of a mere 2 weeks training, all of them, all the participants, even those who had zero background, left knowing and really fluent in their use of their phone. Those who needed to learn Braille are on the path of learning Braille. And the group, of course, continues to stay in touch and problem solve with and for each other. I'm going to close the presentation now with this. The major appeal from the deafblind community has been this, that yes, we need technology, but we need trainers who understand our capacity and our needs. So really, this is the big learning that we had from this whole thing, that we need to find a way to really make this service, a complete service, available to the adult deafblind community in India. So with this, I thank you and open for questions, and as Sunil said, for feedback. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, I'm Tammy Swears from Brantford, Ontario. I'm just going to ask a question about the different apps that you said you used. Is there any ones that you could tell us about that you use on a daily basis?
Any apps that you do?
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot my job. Okay, I use an app called Zomato, Ola, Swiggy, and Rapido. I also use this thing that allows me to switch colors, invert colors, and magnify. Just, can you just ask him to hold on? Sorry, I'm going to keep switching between my roles. Just to clarify, since I know none of you will know these apps, they are apps that are used for booking, call taxis. They are apps that are used to order food, and apps that allow you to shop and then have things delivered to you. And then, of course, the access apps for color and magnification, I'm sure you all are familiar with. I use GPay. This is something that allows me to send money as payment, and this is really helpful.
UPI.
It's a payment gateway. I use a lot of social media like WhatsApp and IM and Facebook. What? Instagram. He uses Instagram? He uses Instagram?
I can zoom also on my phone to see that.
Yeah, okay, we're back to magnification. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It is just closing because of the time for the session and moving on to the next session and the people coming into this room now. But if you have any questions, if you want to stay off to the side and come and ask them so that we can prepare the room for the next people. So thank you very much. There is a small token of appreciation that I'll give to these folks. And so thank you very much and have a great rest of the conference.